Here's a story from the Daily Mail that is going to blow your mind. As I'm reading the story, see if you can think to yourself, what's obviously wrong with the story? Why is the story obviously untrue? Reading the quote, if you envisage a prehistoric hunter, a vision of a caveman might spring to mind. But a new study claims that these cavemen paled in comparison to their female counterparts. While women have long been seen as child rearers and gatherers, and men as hunters, researchers from the University of Notre Dame, this is a major university, researchers have debunked this theory. Their study found that not only did prehistoric women engage in the practice of hunting, but their female anatomy and biology would have made them intrinsically better suited for it. Who can say why this study is obviously false? So this is the University of Notre Dame is a real university. The lead author of the study, Dr. Kara Okelbach, said rather than viewing this as a way of erasing or rewriting history, our studies are trying to correct the history that erased women from it. So these hunting women were erased. And their reasoning is that women have more endurance than men. They have hormones that give them more endurance than men, which is true because they have to give birth to children. Then men don't do anything like that. So women do have more endurance. They have better pain tolerance and all that. And that's their argument. That's the whole thing. What's the problem? The problem is we've seen prehistoric societies. Ever since the 19th century, people, civilized people, have found societies living as they lived in prehistoric times. None of them had women hunters. Just doesn't happen. Of course it doesn't happen. The men get together and they, have ways of collaborating and thinking things out and using tools and strength and speed that women don't have. It's ridiculous. It's just a lie. They're lying. So they want to lie about the past. They want to rewrite history and they want us to take them seriously. They don't want us to laugh at them because they're obviously lying. So they have to make it criminal to laugh at them. They have to say if you laugh at them, you're going to be demonetized on YouTube. You're going to be thrown off, Twitter. And yet this is in every show. I complain about this all the time. Women cops chasing down men. The bad guy's running away, but the woman cop chases after him. Never happened. Never, ever, ever happened. I just saw a video. I don't have it with me, but I just saw a video of 3 large female cops wrestling with one guy. He gets away. He gets away. I've seen that on the street too. It just doesn't happen. I saw the new NCIS Sydney had an ad, and this woman punches a guy in the jaw, pow, like that. Now, ladies, look at your hands. If Mike Tyson punches a guy bare-fisted in the jaw, he will hurt his fingers. Mike Tyson's fingers will hurt. Obviously the guy who gets hit is going to be laid out forever, but still, Mike Tyson will hurt his fingers. Look at the way your bone structure is. Look, you'll break your hand, and then the guy will beat the crap out of you. That's the truth. I talked about that show, Silo, which was really well written, really well plotted, had that wonderful Rebecca Ferguson, very attractive Swedish actress, I think, good actress. She's playing a guy. She has emotional problems, so she takes them out. She solves them by fixing machinery, and she beats up guards, and she lifts big pieces of metal and all that. She's a guy. It's ridiculous. Every time I see it now, I turn it off. I won't watch it. I will not watch it. I will not watch a show in which a woman is not a woman. And that's what it is. It's so offensive to women. It is so offensive to women because women, in other words, they're telling them that you have to be like this. You have to be a man to be worthwhile, to be a hero, I'll watch a woman's movie. I used to, when I was a kid, I would sometimes watch movies like, the Betty Davis movies. They were interesting. They were good. They were for both men and women, but they sort of focused on the woman character. But the woman character was a woman character. She didn't beat people up like this. The other day I was in the gym and I couldn't find anything to watch, so I went back to a throwback, The Wild Wild West, which was a 60s program. You probably have, maybe not, I don't know. It was so long ago, they made a movie of it. But the idea was it was James Bond in the Wild West. So he had a lot of gadgets, and he was a spy, but he was spying on people after the Civil War. And Suzanne Pleshette, Robert Conrad was the main guy, James West, and Suzanne Pleshette played the femme fatale, and she was an expert with a gun, and she almost shot him, and she was smart, and she was sexy. And then he got sick of her because he thought she was corrupt, and he went in and he roughed her up, and he threw her over his shoulder, and he carried her out of the room. And I thought, you know what? I've done that. That's much more likely to happen than Suzanne Pleshette hitting Robert Conrad in the face and Robert Conrad spinning out, going backwards. That's just, it's more real. But somehow that's not allowed because real women, what women are really like, is banned because they don't show their positive traits, so they can't show the drawbacks of being a woman. They don't show the benefits of being a woman, so they can't show the drawbacks. You know, the attorney, Jonathan Turley, he wrote a piece about Disney. He said, Disney has reportedly lost $1 billion just on 4 of its recent woke movie flops. Productions denounced by critics as pushing political agendas or storylines, yet until now, the company has continued to roll out underperforming movies as revenue has dropped. What's more, Disney stars persist in bad-mouthing its fabled storylines and undermining its new productions. The company admits that it has suffered a continued slide in impressions, viewership, by 14%. And Turley links to Disney's SEC report, which says our businesses create entertainment. This is Disney reporting to the SEC, the Security and Exchange Commission, saying our businesses create entertainment, travel, and consumer products whose success depends substantially on consumer tastes and preferences that change in often unpredictable ways. Further, consumers' perceptions of our position on matters of public interest, including our efforts to achieve certain of our environmental and social goals, often differ widely and present risks to our reputation and brands. These guys, in video recovered by Chris Rufo, said they were out to queer our children. They didn't know. I don't even think they knew that we didn't want them to do that. This is the greatest betrayal of a brand name, of what a brand name means in the history of capitalism. And I'm not exaggerating. The New York Times becoming left is just a metastatic cancer. It was always left-wing, and now it's woke. The Yale becoming a trash university used to be a great university, but it was always left-wing. Now it's woke. It's a metastatic cancer. Disney was a conservative Christian brand with wholesome entertainment for children. They poisoned it with their stupid ideas. And they don't even know because they're surrounded by other people who think just like them. So it's not a big surprise to find out that Disney is making a sequel to their Maleficent picture that had Angelina Jolie, and Jolie gave a press conference and she said, I think that so often when a story's told which says this is a strong woman, she has to beat the man, or she has to be like the man, or she has to somehow not need the man. I think that's also an important message for young girls to find their own power, but to respect and learn from the men around them. Because she couldn't just come out and say, maybe that's crap. Elle Fanning, who plays Aurora, the Sleeping Beauty princess in it, and who's also beautiful and a great actress, she went even further. Here's what she said.
I think a lot of Disney films also, when a sequel comes, they expect the princess to then be in armor and have a sword and fight and oh, that makes her strong. And Aurora's a fighter, but in a different way. I think there's a strength in her femininity and softness, and there's nothing wrong with her wanting to be a mother and be married, and there's a beauty in that, and that is still strong.
I want you to notice a bunch of things about that. The apologetic tone. Good for her for saying it, but still the apologetic tone. There's nothing wrong with I can't believe I'm saying this. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a mother. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get married. There's nothing wrong with being soft. What the hell are they talking about? Why do they have to say that? Well, they have to say that because the press surrounds them and makes them think that they represent more people than they actually do. But she keeps talking about, and they always do this, you can be strong in a different way. It never occurs to them to just take the word strong and throw it out the window. Throw it out the window. Stop being strong. You don't have to be strong. Now, I understand. Women are strong in many ways, in different ways than men. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that they're accepting the male value system. They're not thinking that maybe there are 2 value systems. That maybe because human beings are binary creatures with a male side and a female side, that there are men and women, that they have different values that are like a Venn diagram. They interlock, they're in tension, and they also are complementary. All of those things that make the world insanely beautiful, that are the main pleasure of most of our lives. 90% at least of our lives, 90% at least of people take their greatest pleasure in finding that magic by which these two conflicting yet complementary yet intersecting value systems come together. The thing that has always made the Judeo-Christian values that underlie the West, and I know a lot of people say, well, it's not that, it's the Jewish faith and the Christian faith. That's true too, but I'm talking about something different. I'm talking about the actual Judeo-Christian values, the values of the Bible that were first given to the Jews and then spread to everybody through Jesus Christ. Those values, the incredibly unique and beautiful and empowering thing about them is that they insist that God made man and women in his image, and that those values that conflict and are complementary and intersect are both systems are urgent if you want to be holy, right? They talk about justice, which is, when dad comes home and he gives you what you deserve. That's a male value. They talk about mother mercy. We talk about the mother of mercy, right? Because that is what you look for mom. After dad gets through with you, you can go to your mom and she will forgive you. They talk about the value of power. You have to have your mighty armies, Saul slayed his 1,000, but David slays his tens of thousands. That's an important thing, but also they talk about the value of surrender. And this is an important thing. When they talk about God, God is always represented as male. He's the father, he's the son, he's the bridegroom, because everybody, all humans, have to surrender to God, right? Men are called to surrender to God before they ask women to surrender to men, because then they know, then they get it, then they're part of the system, right? Have you ever thought about this? The Garden of Eden, when Adam and Eve disobey God, they eat the tree of knowledge. And God gets ticked off. And he says to Eve, as part of his scolding her, he says, from now on, your desire shall be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Now, a lot of people try to explain this stuff away, and it means this, and it really means that. But in the next chapter, God says the same thing about sin. He's talking to Cain just before he murders Abel. And he says, sin will desire you, but you'll have to rule over it. In the same way, he says to Eve, you will desire your husband, but you have to rule over it. What happens after they leave paradise is this complementary system in which women surrender without losing anything and men conquer without dominating and hurting anything, which is the system that exists in the love of God, and the loving system of God suddenly becomes a power struggle, suddenly becomes a problem. With love, that problem disappears. Anybody who's in a happy marriage will tell you that. Anybody who's in a happy marriage, maybe in the first year, second year, maybe they have some power struggles. After that, they suddenly realize, I can trust this person. I can surrender to this person. I can take this person. I can be a couple. I can become a couple, and nothing will be lost. There'll only be gain. That's what a happy marriage looks like. That's the kind of marriage I've been in for since the Civil War. This is why the left hates women. The left hates women because leftism is an inherently materialistic culture, and it has no place for that kind of spiritual idea, the idea of love. Some of the right like this too, the Ayn Rand right, the capitalism is everything right. Capitalism, great economic system, love it to death, but it's not the meaning or purpose of life, and it's not the way we live. It's just an economic system. Materialists want to believe that love is just some emanation of sex. We desire each other, so we experience it as love. It's just something that, we're really after the sex. That's the real thing, but over that we overlay love, which is garbage. That's why materialists end up turning our lives into a sexual zoo, like, promiscuous gay men in a bathhouse. Everybody's going to do their individual weird thing, and that's going to make you happy. And instead, everybody ends up very unhappy because it's not true. The value system of women is not centered in power, it's centered in love. And the value system of men, which is centered in power, is guided by love. And that's what marriage looks like, and that's what that relationship looks like, and that's what Judeo-Christian values look like, and that's why they hate it. And they hate women for being women. They don't hate women if they pretend to be men, but they hate women for standing up for that. Listen to the apology. It's okay to want to be a mother. okay, screw you. It's everything to want to be a mother. None of us would be here. The world wouldn't be here. This is what life is about. It's about finding a man who is manly enough to find a woman womanly enough to start the world all over again. And they're apologizing for it because they hate it, because it is not materialism. Truly, the right does this too if they're totally Ayn Rand, capitalist, right, materialists. If you want to bring both sides down on your head, give love and softness and surrender the same respect you give to work and power and money, and they will be at your door before the sun goes down. And that's why they hate women. For more Klavan-y goodness, like and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.